Good day, EFC students. Welcome to part 2 of Unit 3. So the purpose of this particular lecture is to look into the RIM strategy, but using a practical case study. And the idea behind this is to assist you from an exam technique point of view, but also to show you practically how the RIM strategy can actually be used. So let's get started. So the RIMS case study that we will be looking at is a case study relating to HIV/AIDS, and I am going to read the case study out to you first. And what I just want to point out to you is that from an exam technique point of view, an important step is always to read the information. So we're always very focused on just getting down to the solution and just writing whatever it is that we need to write. But even more important is to make sure that we actually read the information very carefully. So let's start with this particular case study. A company introduced an HIV/AIDS awareness program. Employees became more aware of the potential impact of HIV/AIDS on them personally and on the company's operations. Management were delighted with this development as they sensed that workers were seriously concerned about the spread of HIV. The situation, however, became problematic when rumors were spread in one of the work teams about the HIV status of some members of that team. A total of 6 workers were alleged to be HIV positive. The group of 6 were accused of posing a health risk to the rest of the team. It was also claimed that they will disrupt the stability of the work team because they will often be absent from work. The rest of the team made it quite clear to the group of 6 that they are no longer welcome on the team. So before I even move on to the next slide, can you already see that there are 2 parties involved? So part 1, or the first party, would then relate to the 6 accused workers, and then the remaining would be the rest of the employees. So can you see this then already shows us that there are 2 parties involved in this particular case study. Moving on to the next slide. The group of 6 approached you in your capacity as senior manager of operations. They complained that the situation has become intolerable. They are discriminated and fear for their safety. All of this is based only on rumors about the HIV status that they started to spread after they attended the voluntary workshops and made use of the voluntary testing and counseling service that the company offered. They insisted that the HIV status is a private matter and asked that you protect them against discrimination and victimization. After all, one of them added, this would never have happened if the company did not start the AIDS program. So this is just then giving you context and background in terms of the information that has been provided to you. So let's just look at this slide here. Our 2 parties that we said are involved is our co-workers, and then we've got the views of the accused 6. Now, if we have to see and just dive into this, this is where the difference in opinions, or this is where the argument is actually coming about as a result of the 2 parties. Now, let's just break it down and let's try to understand their different viewpoints and what exactly it is that they are arguing about. So the co-workers are saying that, hey, these guys potentially actually have AIDS, and as a result of that, we are worried, and this is then going to have an impact on our working relationship. The work won't be able to be done. We won't be able to meet deadlines. So this is the concerns, or these are the arguments coming from the co-workers. And then the accused 6, they are saying, but hey, this is actually rumors only. And even if it was true, our privacy is what should actually be protected. So this are basically the facts that come from the case study. And when we actually are busy with our assessment, need to then say, okay, So I've identified the two parties. Then the next thing is I need to then look at what exactly are the arguments from both parties. And that is then what results in the dissensus part. So this is where we're seeing the difference, or this is where the argument is actually coming about. So step one, generate and evaluate all points of view. So here, if I have to look at it, what are the arguments of the co-workers? So what are the points that they actually bringing to this argument? Then the argument of the 6 accused. What are the points that they are bringing to this argument? So if we have to just look at it, the workers or arguments of the co-workers, workers who are HIV positive pose a health risk. So that is what they actually arguing about. The second thing is that they are saying that as a result of these workers that have a AIDS or HIV, they are posing a health risk, and they also going to have this impact within our working environment, and it is then going to impact, for example, deadlines, and we won't be able to do our work effectively because they may not be available to assist us or assist in getting the job done. Then the accused, or the 6 accused, are then saying they feel that it's unfair that they're actually getting intimidated as a result of these particular rumors, because what if it's actually not true? And secondly, they're saying that even if it is true, this is a private matter and should then be kept confidential. So if you noticed here, this is a copy and paste from the information that has been given to you, which then would result in easy marks. Now, another thing that I actually also want to bring your attention to is that even before we go and we start analyzing the arguments, an important step is to make sure that these are ethical and legit arguments. If it's just an argument that benefits just the one party, and it has no benefits for the rest of the team, then it's pointless even being considered. So what I want you to use here, and a tool that you can use to make sure that this is actually ethical arguments, is you can use your good self other test to test if this is actually ethical, and put it down that you are using the good self other. So for example, if I have to just look at it from the co-worker's point of view, it's not just good for them. They're not just doing this for their benefit. They're not saying, okay, I just want to get rid of these staff members for my own purposes, or I do not want them to be part of the team or whatever for my own purposes. They are saying that they are posing a health risk to the entire company. So you can clearly see that this is not a selfish argument. It is considered to be a moral and ethical argument. And then the whole thing from the argument of the 6 accused, here again, we can see that they're not just focusing on their own motives. They are saying that they are being discriminated, but it's not just them that's getting discriminated. It's not just benefit to themselves. It's not something that's just good for them, but it's good for the rest of the company. It's like they're looking at the greater good of the company. Because let's say one day there's another discrimination incident that takes place, it's something that will then impact the entire company. And if we can look at it from an early stage, and if we can resolve a problem like this here, in the long term, we will then we'd be able to get a number of benefits. So therefore, we can then conclude that this is considered to be moral arguments from both parties. Then step 2, asking yourself, what are the positive aspects that come about as a result of the situation? And then the second thing is, what are the negative aspects that come about as a result of this particular situation? So here again, you can get the answers from the case study that has been presented to you. So if I have to just ask, okay, so what are the positive things that can actually be attained from this particular argument? So yes, the importance of protecting health or the health of the staff members, stability of the work team. So we want to make sure that we are able to meet our deadlines, having the right number of staff members, and the respect for privacy, because keeping information private, especially about your employees, is such an important part within any company. And these are then considered to be some of the positive elements that come about from this particular argument. Then some of the negative things that are coming about from this case study is that there's a health risk to the work team, because if, let's say, there's all of these staff members that actually have HIV, AIDS, it then does have that impact on the rest of the team, maybe in the form of deadlines not being met, the workforce, not running effectively. Then we're looking at the instability of the work team, violation of privacy, victimization of those with HIV, AIDS. So these are then considered to be the negative aspects that are coming about from this particular case study. So with the positive and negative aspects, these are things that you will then get from the case study. And that is why it is so important to make sure that you take the time to read the information very, very carefully. Then if we have to go to the third step, so the third step generally will have a very open memo. And why I say an open memo is that we'll have a number of options that can then be used as a solution. And a good way to actually generate your step 3 is to look at all of the negative aspects. And for each of those negative aspects, ask yourself, what can be done to turn this into a positive situation? So with the solutions, you're looking, you're understanding the situation, but you're focusing on the negative aspects, and you obviously want to avoid the negative aspects. And then you are saying what solutions can be brought as a result to minimize this particular negative situation. And if I have to just look at the first one, the health risk to the work team, we consider this to be a negative aspect. And just some of the solutions that we could actually come about is, like, yes, the AIDS program maybe was too general. So it wasn't maybe sufficiently focused on the workforce. So maybe then we can implement a better AIDS awareness program. Safety procedures, implement known safety procedures within your workforce and make this actually known to your employees. First aid procedures. So here we're making sure that our employees are sufficiently trained in the event of there being something happening as a result of the health risk being posed to the team. Also then the second one, the instability of the team. We just then look at the different types of solutions that can actually reduce that particular negative implication. And we see that there for the rest of the negative aspects that came about as a result of this particular argument or that's come about as a result of the situation that we faced with. And then we see that there with each of the negative aspects. And I mean, I'm not going to go into that much detail into each one, but what I'm trying to show you is that when it comes to finding the solutions, is that if I have to just look at what exactly are we arguing about, we want to keep the positive aspects because the positive aspects is adding value, but the negative aspects is actually just causing a lot of unhappiness. Employees in this case here are obviously not happy with everything that's happening. And that is when we actually need to then make sure, okay, so what are the solutions that I can actually put in place when it comes to these negative aspects? And also what I just want to bring to your attention is that with the RIM strategy, it's very, very, very practical. And basics such as like, where can I actually get the easy marks? The second point of like reading the information carefully. These are already two very big steps that you can use in, for example, in a RIMS question, and you'd be able to get the easy marks. And you'd be able to actually do really well in a RIMS question if you actually take the time to follow those 2 basic steps. And then the third step is now then obviously the application of the knowledge. And when it comes to application of the knowledge, what I can tell you is that application is what is the information telling you and what is the theory telling you. And you then taking the theory and you applying it to the case study or to the information that has actually been given to you. And a good example would be is the good, self, other test. The theory is saying that here's a tool called the good, the self, the other. And the application would then be like, okay, so when they're talking about good, who are they referring to in the scenario? Who are they referring to self? Who are they referring to others? So when it comes to applying the theory, it's always asking yourself the necessary questions: who, what, when, how, and that is what actually makes you a very good accountant. It will also make you a very good finance specialist or whatever it is, because you don't just take the theory, you take the step further to try and make sure that you apply that theory to the scenario. So the tutors will also be doing a question with you in which they'll make their thinking also available in a little video. And that's also going to assist you in making sure that you understand the RIMS strategy. And then finally, just a little positive note to end Unit 3. You can do anything if you put your mind to it. The only thing that can stop you is yourself. So this year is just a saying to remind you that no matter how hard things are, never give up, keep believing in yourself, and just know that, yes, I can do this, and just put your mind to it and just believe that you can do this. And I just look forward to walking the rest of this journey with you guys. So wishing you all everything of the best, and I hope you all have a wonderful day further, and I trust that you enjoyed Unit 3.